design is a business. I'm not doing design because I love designing. I love designing, obviously, but it's a business.
Yeah.
I have family to take care of, so you always want to factor in profit. Money what I spent last year, I made. I don't know if I want to put this part in the core, right? But that money I
I'll
spent
put
last
it.
year, I made.
Yeah.
So last year I spent around $8,000 just in sales, right? I bought a course, I bought books, I
Wow.
bought videos. Yeah. This year I think I spent around $200. I have a sales coaching class coming up in November, right? Because
200.
no, that's how I spend it, because it's an investment in myself. Okay. So make I no go call range, now make I no insult you. Okay, but let's say for your Kems as an example, right? The client has a lot of ideas, right? And they have a minimum budget, right? And let's say the minimum you accept should, I say 5 million, I say too much. Okay, let's say 1 million or 500,000 naira.
Oh, that was small, but let's go.
I say 5 million, you complain. Hello everyone, my name is Druids. I'm a product designer and you are listening to the Designstration podcast with Ufot. Design plus illustration equals Designstration.
Designstration.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode on Designstration podcast. Today I have with me my co-host Kems, the one and only, and we have an exceptional guest on this episode. I'm going to give you a brief introduction about this person because this is one of the Kwata of them all. This is one of that very senior designer. I think senior designer is like, we are kind of underrating him by just calling him a senior designer. Quite a number of us in the Nigerian Twitter community, Nigerian design community, we can all attest to the fact that one way or another, right, outside other valuable contribution that he has done to the increasingly growth of our career trajectory, we can also attest to the fact that when it comes to the business part of design, when we talk about money part of design, this very person has influenced us positively. He has helped us so well when it comes to negotiating, talking money, business, and Web3, in that space. Almost every designer I know that is exceptionally good has somewhere in their storyline where this very person has touched something in that space. And it's a big privilege for us to be able to have him on the podcast today. It's no other person than the exceptional Usifo, popularly known as Druids. Druids, it's good to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm sure very few people know my actual name. During my wedding, my father was calling me Druids, and I looked at him like,
wow.
Why did they call your pikin Druids?
Wow, Druids. We're going to jump right into today's episode. Right, Druids needs no introduction. We're going to jump right into today's episode because we have a lot to talk about. And we want to talk about money, right, with respect to design, money, right? And specifically, we want to tailor it through the train of thought of $1 million idea with 1,000 Naira budget, right? So a client reaches out to creatives, designers, product designers, illustrators, motion, whatever you do in the tech space, and they have this $1 million idea, but our budget is 1,000 Naira. And we want to set the stage by talking about, in the first place, why? From your experience, from your years, from your, from everything you've seen, what makes you think clients always have this $1 million idea, but they have 1,000 Naira budget? Let's start from that point.
Yeah, I would say it's mostly client education, right? Especially on this part of the world where clients see. So if you notice in 2022, 2021, 2020, when there were a lot of IPOs going on, right? I think they started the IPO around that time when they sold to what's this company name? Stripe, right? And everybody wanted to start building a product. They wanted to become baby liquid, right?
Yeah.
And we all have ideas we want to build. but they are not sure how much it costs to build that, right? It happens across not just freelancing, right? Even when you're working full time, right? They want to build something, but they're not sure exactly how much it is to build that thing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have what we call an anchor price in their head, right?
Mm.
They're just going to come with an arbitrary budget and say, I want to build this, this is how much I have. As I think it all boils down to client education, which is where what we call a discovery call comes into play. Because before you onboard any
Mm.
client, before you charge any client, you always have to do discovery call, right?
Okay.
If my budget was say 1,000 naira, for example, I have a call with yourself, for example, and you tell me to build this or to design this would cost me around 500K. Instantly, that becomes my anchor price. So if I'm going to miss the next designer, I now know that 1,000 naira is not going to cut it. So I may start
Mm.
moving my budget up a bit, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. But like I said, it's mostly client education and the anchor price they either got from their peers, right? Or by just going on Google and say, how much will it cost to design this?
Mm-hmm.
That was the reference point when I was trying to charge my first client. I basically just went on Google and said, how much will it cost to design a WordPress website?
Interesting. Before Kems ask next question, when you say client education, what do you? I want you to throw more light on that a little bit so we have context. When you say client education, what do you mean? Right,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
when we look at certain things that sorry when we look at certain things that designers need to know, right, designers need to learn the basics, and I'm using design as a generic scope because that's majorly what we're talking about, right? We have to learn the basic, like typography, the color contrast, the basics, the principles of design, right? Then we go into the business part of it. So for client education, what would you say are some certain terms that they too can learn?
Oh yeah. So for client education, right? I think it's all about the value
Yeah.
of design, right? Because if you're
Okay.
coming with me with 1,000 naira budgets, I assume you do not know the value of design. So it's my
Mm.
responsibility, right, as the designer that will probably handle your project or may not, depending on how the conversation goes, to basically educate you on the value I'll be providing to you and how that value translates to your product and help you raise money or do this and that. Right. But it's mostly just
Mm-hmm.
helping them understand the value of design from their own lens. It's not just about going into Figma, designing this and giving you this product.
Exactly.
Right. I like letting you know, okay, this is how many users are going to be on board. And if you are boarding this amount of users and we are converting 10%, this is the amount of revenue you are going to get. So in the cost of client education, there's something I always do, which is called the guarantee. We'll probably talk about that during the course of the conversation, right? But I like giving
Mm-hmm.
guarantees that if I work on this, I'm not just saying bringing figures from air, doing this and that. Right? If I work on this, we are going to onboard 100K users. So you may have to learn strategy as the designer. Right? We're going to onboard 100K
Mm-hmm.
users. You need the strategy. And with the way the user journey or the customer journey is mapped, we should be able to convert at least 10% of that user. And I guarantee that if I'm
Mm.
converting 10% as at this pricing plan, you'll be making say
Yeah.
200K USD. And now if
Mm.
I'm able to guarantee that you're going to get that amount back through the value you get from the design I'm about to work on, right? I think it just makes sense if I take 10% out of that future perceived value I'll generate for which around 20K USD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we'll get
Wow.
into value, we'll get into terms and all
Very.
that. Yeah, during the course of the
Yeah.
conversation.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, which will lead me to ask the next one that you as a designer, how what are the steps? How would you effectively communicate the value of your work as a designer to a client that may not necessarily understand why design service costs that much, because they may not have the design they may not have the client education, design knowledge, some may not have these things. So how would you effectively communicate that to your client that this thing costs this much because of XYZ? How would you effectively communicate that to your client?
Oh yeah, so which is why I mentioned the discovery call earlier. um
Okay.
if you are mentioning your price during your first conversation with your
Mhm.
client, it's most likely there's going to be a downward pressure on the price, which makes any sense. The price is going to get lowered, and the clients may not
Mhm.
move forward with you. There are several variables that will contribute to that, right? But the major thing is the client has not perceived value from you. Right? I'm meeting you for the first time.
Mm.
Probably I found you to Twitter, or I found you to Instagram, or whatever lead or whatever
Yeah.
channel I used to find you. Right? I'm not
Mm.
certain of the value you are bringing to me. And if I just say I want to design a mobile app and you say it's going to cost 500K, when you don't even understand the problem I'm trying to solve, the desired future state I
Okay.
want that product to
Mm-hmm.
get to, right? I'm not even sure of your skill set if you're able to get me from where I am to that desired future state, right? And you're just calling these values for me, right? I'm not perceiving the value from you. It's difficult for me
Mm-hmm.
to pay that amount of money. Like, if you remember, during the course of the redesign you did for my brand, which was Druids, when you
Yeah.
called the amount of money you called, right, I did not
Mm.
haggle the price much because I've worked with you
Yeah.
before, right? I already know the kind of value you provide to your clients. I've seen your work on Behance, I've seen your work on Twitter, right? So I already know the kind of value you provide to your
Mm-hmm.
clients. So there was no point, and I had an anchor in my head because where we've worked together. So there was no point
Yeah.
haggling the price. So when the client reaches out to you for the first time, you always want to get on a discovery call. You always want to
Mm.
know because you're trying to solve a problem from the client for the client, and each
Yeah.
clients
Yeah.
have their own unique problems. And when you are
Mm-hmm.
working for clients, there are several variables that contribute to the pricing, right? So you want to make them
Mm-hmm.
understand this is the value I'm giving to you, apart from just designing this product, right? Because there's the
Yeah.
product itself, which is the artifact. It has its own value. There will be knowledge transfer. If you're an expert as I am, or you're a niche designer as I am, right? There will most likely be knowledge
Mm-hmm.
transfer during the course of that conversation. Teach them about how to design grid UX for Web3 applications. If you are doing things on chain abstraction, you educate them more on chain abstraction and the possibility of chain
Mm-hmm.
abstraction. Right? There's always knowledge transfer involved. There's speed, right?
Yeah.
I'll help you go to market early,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then there's also that guarantee, that certainty I mentioned earlier. If you hire
Yeah.
me and I say we're going to get this done in 3 months, we're going to get this done in 3 months. Right. But if you are going with
Mm-hmm.
an alternative A or an alternative B, there's that guarantee
Yeah.
is not always there. Then you always want to show them that you have proof of work, which is very important. It's something you have to bring up in your first conversation. If you are coming to me and you're probably trying to do a sports app or you want to do a betting app or you want to design a sports
Mm-hmm.
game, during the kind of conversation, I'll tell you that um so during discovery call, right? You're basically asking the client questions
Mm-hmm.
about their product or the problem you're trying to solve, right? Why are you working on
Yeah.
this? Who are your users? Yada yada yada, right? Basically asking them questions
Mm-hmm.
to help understand them better, right? So after that session, during the course of that same conversation, I'll tell you that okay, we've done something similar for Des Bryant, which is an NFL athlete, right? We designed this sports app for
Mm-hmm.
him, and now this will also help you anchor the conversation when it comes to pricing. So during the cost of
Mm.
working for Des, this is how much I can't mention how much I charge Des. During the cost of working for Des, right?
Okay.
This, this is how much we
Yeah.
charge, right? And this was how long the project took. So now,
Mm.
now I'm doing the conversation, not just from teaching them um about the value of design, but also helping to
Yeah.
understand the problem they are trying to solve and how I can come in. Now I'm bringing in an additional proof of work saying, oh, I've done this before, right? For this client, which is a
Yeah.
very popular
Yeah.
person. This is how long it took, right? Also helping them set a realistic timeline for how long their project may take. Then,
Me
yeah,
take.
you
Yeah.
just do the conversation from there.
Wow. Wow. That's insightful. That's so, so insightful. Wow. So basically, money should not really be the first. It shouldn't really come up during discovery call, not necessarily, especially
Um,
from your own part as a designer, right?
it depends, right? Ideally, it should not, but there are clients that would
Mm.
always push for you to give them your budget, right? What is your budget? Or what is your
Mm-hmm.
budget
Yeah.
conversation? You ask, they
Well,
ask.
what's your
Yeah, there are
yeah?
clients that
Yeah.
always want to know. And this is something I always mention on Twitter. A person that says the first price, right, is going to
Yeah.
lead the conversation. This is very
Yeah. You
important.
said that.
It is very important because saying the first price sets the anchor for the conversation. But
Mm.
if I come to you and I say I want to design, I need a bunch of illustrations for probably a lending protocol, right? And I say I need those
Mm-hmm.
pack of illustrations. If I ask you your price and you ask me my budget, if I tell you my
Mm-hmm.
budget first, I'm setting the anchor for that
Yeah.
conversation. If my
Yeah.
budget is
Yeah.
200K, 200,000 naira, and you're probably charging a million naira, if you're not very good at negotiating or you're an amateur sales person, I think every designer should be a sales person. But an amateur sales person, what is going to happen is because I've got 200K, which is the anchor for that conversation,
Yeah.
you may start getting jittery and saying 1 million,
Mm.
you start thinking, oh, this client may run away, this and that, this and that.
Exactly.
Then you end up
Yeah.
saying probably something
Yeah.
around 300,000 naira, right? Which is not an amount
Yeah.
you usually take. So you always want to
Yeah.
say the price first. You always want to lead the conversation. It's very important.
Interesting. 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 I remember when you when I first heard you say that. Actually, you said it in pidgin. Now over a stock price. Now in now over a stock price. Now in the lead. And I was like, oh no, I'm holding on to this. I'm holding on to this. Before Kems picks up on the next one, I want to talk about balancing vision and budget. Right? Let's balance the client's vision and the budget. So client reached out, right? And they can't afford everything they want, right? In their list of deliverables that they provide, they can't afford everything they want. How do we as a designer help them prioritize what is most important within the range of their budget? Because we still want to solve the problem, right? We don't want to just, let's just design and collect the money and go. We still want to add value, right? We want to be valuable to that. So how do we help them prioritize what they really need fitting the budget that they have?
Okay, so just set an example. A client comes, they want a mobile
Yes.
app, they want branding, they want a web app, and their budget is 1 million naira, right?
Yeah.
And let's say my minimum
Yes.
level of engagement is 5 million, right? How do I help them
Okay.
balance their budgets and their idea? Is that the question you're asking?
Yes. 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 Also, let me give context. I want you to also approach this with also. I know you are like I said, we said you are above the senior. So give context with um let's say a mid-level designer.
Think about us.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Kems. Just think about us when you're giving that robust answer. Think about put us in your range. Yeah, in that range.
Okay. So make I no go call range now, make I no insult you. Okay, but let's say for for your Kems for your Kems as an example, right? The client has
Mhm.
a lot of ideas, right? And they have a minimum
Yeah.
budget, right? And let's say the
Mhm.
minimum you accept should, I say 5 million, just now, I say it too much. Okay, let's say 1 million or 500,000 naira.
Oh, that was small, but let's
Hey,
go.
hey,
Let's go.
I say
Let's
I
go.
say 5 million, you complain. I say 5 million, you complain. But
Yeah,
let me use a
let's go.
junior scope, right? Because if you need branding, web
Okay.
app and mobile app, right? For a junior, 1 million is very
Mhm.
realistic because that's a lot of work. So
Mhm.
and the client's budget is probably around 200,000 naira, as they often bring as their budget, right? Probably 200,000
Mhm.
naira. There are two ways to do it. If the clients, so there are two types of clients. We have the value buyers and we have the price buyers. Right? So the value
Mhm.
buyers, they will not have good price with you. They want to do this, they have this amount. The people you are calling now most likely
Mhm.
be price buyers. They have this very big idea, they have very small budget. So the first thing you want to do is you want to help them. Okay, no, there are two ways. First, you'd want to set terms for how you want to work with them. So if their budget is 200,000 naira and the minimum you take as
Yeah.
a junior designer for that scope of work is probably 500,000 naira, you may want to start setting financial terms, right? You ask them,
Mhm.
is it that you cannot pay 500,000 naira right now? It's 200,000 naira you have. Do you want us to do this in installments over 3 months? Right? So you want to make sure you're always extracting the maximum amount of value from the client because they'll be obviously clients will always extract the maximum amount of value from you. So if they are not good on financial terms and they are strict on, we only have 200,000 naira to work on this, then this is where options are going to come into play. Okay.
Mhm.
And when
Yeah.
doing options, you don't do options and say branding 100,000 naira, Figma 100,000 naira, or web design 100,000 naira, mobile
Mhm.
design 100,000 naira, right? When doing
Okay.
options, um, you do it in the sense of the scope of work. I don't know how to explain this in a better way. If I say something, you want to say it now, you say it's not for me designers again, it's for senior designers.
No, let's try. Let's try. Let's try. Do it, sir.
Okay. So usually when
Yeah.
you want to do options, right, you can tell them
Mhm.
that mobile app is a lot of work, right? You can tell them, okay, I would right now for you to go to market, you need a minimum viable product, which is what we call the MVP, right?
Yeah.
And during the course of the discovery call, you are going to know what the client end state is going to look like. What is the most important task you want the users to do, right? For a dating app,
Mhm.
obviously for people to date, for them to connect, right? Having a chat feature there doesn't make a lot of sense for an MVP, right? Except you are
Mhm.
trying to create a social dating app where they get to chat. Right? But if you just want them to connect, right, and probably, but there's going to be a problem there. If you probably just want them to connect, right, the minimum MVP should be home, profile, and settings. That should be the minimum MVP. Now, If for your MVP you want them to start chatting, you want them to do this, you want them to buy coins. Now the scope of work is getting bigger. Then you get the client in the
Yeah.
call and try and help them scope out the MVP. But this scoping of work should be done before price is set, before you write a contract. You don't do scoping of work after you've agreed on the
Mm.
pricing. The reason is that clients will always have a new feature. Their wife will always like a new color. Their wife is something that they like that they want you to add. So you want to scope out the work at the very beginning. So when
Mhm.
scoping, you can tell them, okay, I'll do this flow, I'll do this flow, I'll do this flow. Right. Now I'm not saying I'll do mobile design, I'll do web design, I'll do branding for 200,000 naira. So you can tell them,
Mhm.
I'll do this flow, I'll do this flow, I'll do this flow. I'll help you create your style guide. I'm not working on logo. Help you create your style guide, your colors, your icon sets. I may not even include icon set, your colors and your typography, right? No prototyping involved. Then I'll help you design your landing page for 200,000 naira. Now you're seeing I'm not doing mobile web. The reason I'm not doing mobile
Yeah.
design, web design, branding, clients can get very picky. So if you give an option and say mobile design, brand design, web design, 1,000 naira, mobile design, web design, 300, branding 200, for example, clients will get picky. And if you've seen an a la carte menu, you can select this of the menu and they will add them together into a
Mhm.
bundle for you. Clients will start using
Yeah.
your proposal as an a la carte menu and start bundling things themselves and start pricing you even lower. You may come and say, okay,
Mm.
this web design here is 200,000 naira. Make we do 100K.
Mm.
Mobile is 200. Let's do 50. Branding is 200.
250.
Let's do
Yeah.
50. They'll start pricing and start taking things off the menu. And
Mm.
what this is also going to be at a disadvantage for you, because this is going to help them compare you to other alternatives, which maybe other freelancers they're talking to. Right? Clients are never talking to one designer at the same time. They have different
Mm.
options. Right? So what you want to do is you want to create a bundle which basically options, but you don't want to be very explicit what you're offering in that bundle. Right? So branding, it
Mhm.
contains a lot of things. So if you start doing branding and you say branding, logo, $50. Okay, now I'm going to the last. Logos, $50. Um, having your logos on a mock-up. I don't know if you guys are from branding. Have your logos on a mock-up, right? $50. Colors this. Clients will hold
Yeah.
they will hold your options like this and start ticking. Hey, give us logo $50. Give us mobile design $100. You start ticking, start
Mhm.
ticking. And now they can now use to start comparing you with other alternatives, which they'll most likely move forward with. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to be competing on price with other designers. You always lose. There's always somebody that's going to charge
Mm.
$10 for that full package you just mentioned. Should go on Fiverr. You always lose.
Yeah.
So you always want to compete on value, which is where that discovery call is very important. Is that discovery call, they are going to perceive you as a very valuable person. On that discovery call,
Mhm.
you want to sell it very well. All right. If you don't know how to do sales, I know how to do sales because my childhood was full of a lot of sales. I worked at a restaurant. I worked Computer Village. I worked at a lot of places, right? I was almost selling electrical parts at one
Wow.
point in time. So I know how to sell. So you always want to learn how to do sales because when you know how to do sales, you know how to sell the value the client is looking for. Like I mentioned,
Mm.
my client is a sports person. I'm not going to talking about saying after traffic, even if I know it's going to help their way back, right? It's going to
Yeah.
get lost because that may make me seem like a valuable person, but it's going to make me seem like a very technical, valuable person they can work with, right?
Mm.
So when working with clients, that conversation, you're going to start perceiving um, how knowledgeable they are, the amount of knowledge transfer you would have to do to make them just comfortable enough and make them feel just valuable enough, but very valuable, right? But you don't want to get them confused. I won't start to them mentioning
Mhm.
connect wallet, do this and that for a sport person. If a client is trying to create an on-ramp and off-ramp solution, right? You won't see me mentioning things around sport or mentioning things around AI, right? So you always want to
Mhm.
lead a conversation based on how that discovery call is going. But obviously, you just have to be a very good listener and know how to lead the conversation.
Hmm. Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
I just learned something today, Kems. Kems, I
I'm
just learned something
swallowing
today.
I'm digesting everything.
Your first discovery call, you are going as a
Mhm.
salesman. You're not going as a designer. I've
It's very
learned,
Yes.
important.
People should go and learn
I've
No,
learned
so
marketing.
something today.
sales.
Wow.
No, marketing is different from sales, game, right? Marketing is different
Okay,
from sales.
sorry.
They are two
You
different
said
things.
people should go and learn sales.
Sales.
Yes.
Sales.
So
Hmm.
last year I spent around $8,000 just learning sales, right? I bought a course, I bought books, I
Wow.
bought videos. Yeah. This year I think I spent around $200. I have a sales coaching class coming up in November, right? Because
200.
no, that's how I spend it because it's an investment in myself. Money what I spent last year,
Hey,
I made. I don't know if I want to put this part in the core, right? But that money I
I'll
spent
put
last year,
it.
I made
Yeah.
I made tens of multiples of the money I invested in myself last year, right?
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
because it's an
great.
investment. When you get on calls with these people, so we've not mentioned the ideal client profile. When we get to work with
Mm.
different clients, we'll most likely discuss that, right? But
Yeah.
the kind of clients you want to attract, you have to be an attractive person to them. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does. It does.
I-
Yeah.
if I want to date a model, right, I have to be attracted to that model. So I have to do the
Well,
things the
yeah.
model most likely like, probably dress well, do this and that. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what models like, right? But if you want to be attractive to, if you want to attract your clients, you have to be attractive to them. So it's very
Hmm.
important you know how to do sales, lead this conversation. When you are very confident leading these conversations, if you call 100K USD, they no go shake. You can just say, yeah, but let's go up to that. There is
Well.
starting conversation from there. But when we get to
Mm-hmm.
negotiation, right, we'll talk about how to quote these prices, how to set your minimum level of engagement, why you should not put
Mm-hmm.
your price upfront on your website and those other things. But we'll get there. We see after.
Hmm. Wow, this is beautiful. Kems, pick it up. Kems, over to you. Hmm.
I'm coming. I'm
Me
coming.
too. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
coming.
I think I even experienced that thing clients keeping specific things that you put in your contracts. Like tell you that
Mm.
Mm.
they want the mobile design, but they don't want the landing page. They want the
Yeah.
one that was on.
Yeah.
And he usually just he doesn't envelope. He never envelope.
Never does.
But
Hmm.
are there like crazy ways that you found to work around a low budget, but you still deliver? We know that things to collect low budget
Oh, I
but
do. Oh,
example.
Mhm.
I do. All
Oh
right.
wow.
Eh,
Yes. So,
who
so
am I not to
oh
collect?
yeah, wait. Yeah, there are ways to collect and handle low budget clients. Right. So
Okay.
if I want to work on, so basically anything is just a principle I have for myself, right? If I choose to do anything, I'm going to do it very well, right? If I'm not going to do it very well, there's no point in me
Mhm.
doing it. But I have check marks to certain low budget clients. I've even done a lot of free work in the last year. I've done a lot of free work. But basically I have a check
Mm.
mark. So one thing I always want to know is, will I enjoy working on this? Will it be fun? Fun is like the most important thing. Will it be fun?
Mm.
Because if it's low budget, it's going to be stressful. You're going to get tired very quickly if it's not fun. So will it be
Yeah.
fun? Will it be impactful to me anyway? Will I learn anything new? Will it help me get more clients in that same industry? Right.
Mhm.
Then do I like the clients? That's very important. Do I like the clients?
Mm.
Okay, now, so let's say they hit this 3 check mark. It's time for us to start pricing low budget clients. So the way I handle low budget clients, it's very simple. I always think about the amount of resources that's going to go into designing that product. Because low budget clients, they have a lot of ideas. For some reason, they have never ending stream of ideas, right? And they have that they're low budget.
Leverage,
So
yeah.
yeah, so start thinking, right? You have to scope the work very well at the beginning, obviously, right? That's probably the most important thing.
Mhm.
You have to scope it and make sure you have a contract for it. Then pricing is where it becomes very tricky. Because if the scope of work is going to take me 20 hours or 200 hours for most large products, right? And I'm probably charging $100 per hour, like I do right now. That'll probably take around 20K USD to get that done. Low budget clients, they will not come with
Mm.
1K budget for that. We all know that. So what I
Mhm.
usually do is I look at the junior designers on my rosters, at who is going to benefit the most from working with these clients in terms of the experience they will gain, learning how to handle clients, time management, right? Who's going to gain the most from this? What I usually do when I'm working with the budget clients, it's mostly managerial role. I'm mostly just managing the clients and managing the designer working on that. So now I look for designers to work on that. I start calculating how long the designer is going to take to get that done, right? Time management, because I like giving my clients guarantee. If I say design is going to get done in
Mm.
3 months, one way or the other, I have to get it done in 3 months. So if I'm bringing a junior designer to work on that, I always like making sure there's a guarantee plus or minus 3 weeks, because the clients will do review. The junior designers are still well, not for some reason, they don't have that experience of speed, right? So there's always going to be that extra time padding. And who's going to get the most
Mm.
experience from this? Do I need to hire one or more designers to work on this? Right? Do I need to hire a product manager if I do not have the time to work on that? But like I said, if it's fun, I think it's going to have an impact either on my portfolio or the person I'm hiring to do that. Then I take it. Right. But it's very few. In a year, I can have 0 low budget clients. So if I choose to take anyone, yeah,
Mm.
I have 0. So if it's not interesting to me, doesn't matter. Well, it matters how it matters. If I say it doesn't matter, to be a lie, right? It matters how much you're paying. But I like to make sure it's at least interesting, which is why I keep niching down and say, I only want to do Web3 things, I only want to do these things. So these are the things I find
Mm.
interesting. But if you come with something that's not very interesting to me, but I think it has potential to be fun, it has potential to have a
Mhm.
large impact on my career, right? I don't mind taking it. Like the work I did for
Mm.
when I was at Blue Label Labs, we worked for the UX government. At genealogy, we worked for the biggest bank in the UAE, right? These two different projects, none of them were Web3. One was me designing an environment for a game. The other was designing a VR app to make people more productive at the bank. Right? None of them were Web3. But I knew that they were going to have a large impact on my career, either as a freelancer or as a product designer. Right. And I was able to learn new client management skill. With Blue Label, that was the first time I was charging $85 per hour. Right. And it click.
Wow.
It click. I know how much I collect. It click.
Mm-hmm.
And
Click.
the work we did for the US government, I'm able to track the outcome and the impact of that work. Right. Apart from that, I
Mm.
went on to do one other project there, which was also very interesting, right? So, like I said, you want to make sure it's fun, you want to make sure it's impactful. Because as a very young designer, you're going to see the low budget clients. Before you decide
Mm.
to move for anybody, you have to look for the one that is going to have a lot of impact on your career. Because junior, you're mostly trying to gather portfolio pieces, trying to get experience. Usually, I like making sure clients know how to pitch themselves to me. Because if you know how to market your product to me when you're trying to hire me, I have that conviction that when we are done designing this, you should be able to market this product to your users and get more traction that I will use when I'm trying to say, okay, I worked on this product. We had this amount of users.
Project. Yeah.
I worked on a low budget project in 2021, like very low budget, but we run them. I had 3 designers working with me: brand designer, one illustrator, one product designer, right? And that was around. We took around 1K for that. Right? It was a lot of. We did rebranding. We designed app. We designed web app. We designed landing page. Right? 1K. But that app currently has, I think, 120K downloads, right? And people are still using it. Now, those designers,
Mm.
they can always add that in their portfolio and say, they designed this, right? This is the impact and outcome of that. So you always want to make sure that it has impact. If it doesn't have impact right now, it should have future impact. The person you're working for should be able to set up, but they should have a clear marketing strategy or a clear plan on how they want to launch and get that product into the hand of the users. You don't just work for anybody, even if there's hunger, right? You
Mm-hmm.
want to work with people that will get you from where you are to where you need to be.
Wow. That's a beautiful
I just
way
want to
to
go on. Just
handle
one
that.
very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that you said that you young designer, the entry level designers, those ones that you feel are low budget. Your own low budget and high
Yeah.
budget to me. So I just want to understand. At the end, where I will
Send gigs.
copy your
Send gigs.
exact. So I will send you a DM. So anybody that is watching this story, you
Mm.
are really putting myself people will be fine. But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much for that.
Send
Good.
send
Let me
gigs.
quit for Ubon now.
All right. Let's talk about negotiation. Right.
Ooh,
Negotiation now.
the sweet part.
How to charge. How to charge. So a client reaches out and they they have a plan, they have a vision, they have what they want to do. What's the approach? What's the way forward? How do we
Mm,
talk about money?
okay. This is where I come in. This is where
Hmm.
KOK comes in.
Yes.
Yes, so this is where I come in.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
This is where you
So,
come in, sir.
so there are 3 ways to go about it. When you are very
Okay.
junior, you're mostly doing
Hmm.
what we call cost-based pricing. I'll tell you the pros
Okay.
and cons of cost-based pricing. Cost-based pricing is basically you saying, my time is worth this. This is how long it takes for us to design the project. So I'll do my time times the amount, right? And I'll present that to the client.
Hmm.
For junior design, they do not know this. They usually just quote prices from air or ask their friends how much they charge and they present that to the client.
Hmm.
And there's a thread on Twitter I wrote about how to, Kems is laughing, I think that's what she does. There's a, there's a thread on Twitter I wrote on how on how to on how to price their time, right? So basically, so let's say I'm
Hmm.
junior, right? And my time is what probably let's say 5,000 naira per hour. for example, right? Let's just use
Okay.
that as an
Yeah.
example. And the client comes,
Mm-hmm.
I look at the scope, I'm able to scope it down and say, okay, this will probably take me 200 hours to get done in terms of design. Or I say, okay, 200 hours times 5,000. How much is that?
Yeah.
So I'm probably around a million, which is
That's
it's plenty.
yes.
It's plenty.
Yeah,
But
that's 1 millionaire.
yeah, that's what we call cost-based pricing, right? My hourly rate is $100. This project will take 300 hours to get done. That's 30K USD. That's cost-based pricing. The problem with that
Mm.
is there's a lot of uncertainty when it comes to timing and scoping because you can never accurately scope how long a project will take to get done. Right. I don't think there's
Mm.
anybody in the world that says project is going to take 2 weeks and it took 2 weeks. Because there's always
Mm-hmm.
gradually when you do cost-based pricing, you forget to factor in feedback. Right. There's always feedback, there's pushback from clients, how
Mm.
long it takes to get that rework done. Because that rework usually it's more or less a blocker. Right. Because that rework, you would have to factor it into the other flows, then make other changes here and there.
Yeah.
Usually, the client usually has to bear all this risk. Because you are saying you take 300
Mm.
hours, your charge is $100 per hour, and it may end up taking 400 hours, right? Now the client is bearing additional
Yeah.
risk of 10K USD, not have planned initial budget, right? So
Yes.
the pros of this is you're able to accurately, not accurately, you're able to instantly give prices to your client. Client has to bear all the risk, which means more money for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the cons is a lot of uncertainty on the client side, right? And you may end up working for this project longer than you planned, right? And
Unexpected. Yeah.
I hate long projects that run longer than a year. But there's another one called the output-based pricing, right? Which reduces risk on the client's part. So the client will come and say, I'm trying to solve the problem of students finding hostel accommodation in Benin, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, so the way you do output-based pricing is, okay, you do hourly. The way I do my output-based pricing is, okay, I say this is probably cost 300 hours to get done. Hourly rate is $100. That's 30K. Then I'm going to factor in for other uncertainty, other miscellaneous things like product management, internet, rent, basically other costs that
Mm-hmm.
will go into designing that product, right? I say, okay, these
Yeah.
uncertainties may be I may do a percentage of the total amount. Okay, I may say 20%, right? Which is 6K. Okay, this uncertainty may be around 10K, right? Because clients are very unpredictable. Projects are very
Yeah.
unpredictable. Okay, I can say, okay, let's give the client the 40K, right? We basically marked up our cost-based pricing by a certain percentage and presented that to the client. Now,
Yeah.
there's no longer uncertainty on the client's part. If you like, take 1 year to get it done, right? It's still 40K you are
Mm-hmm.
getting paid. Which is what usually
Exactly.
happens with designers. They're either doing output-based pricing, but they're not usually
Pricing.
calculating it. Which is why I end up working for a Nigerian client in the UK and the US. End up working for them for a year for 200,000 naira. Because
Mm.
your output-based pricing is not based on um there's nothing to back up how you got to that amount, right? So you're just
Mm.
quoting figures from air. But the way I usually do it is cost-based pricing, which is your time times how long you think it will take. Then I mark it up
Yeah.
to cover for other uncertainties on my side, plus profit. Profit very important. Because when you're doing cost-based
Hmm.
pricing, which is basically your time times hours, you're basically giving the
Hours.
clients how long it take to get this done, right?
Yeah.
I want to create this bottle of water, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have staff working for me. Their salaries around 35,000 naira. I have 4 staff working on this, right? And it will take a month, so that's probably a month's worth of salary for 4 people. That's probably around
Yeah.
140,000 naira to get this done. And I'm going to meet the
Yeah.
client and say, okay, to do this is 140K. Doesn't make sense because I'm not making profit.
Mm. Exactly.
So you always want to factor in profit. Design is a business. I'm not doing design because I love designing. I
Hmm.
love designing, obviously, but it's a business.
Yeah.
I have family to take
Mm-hmm.
care of. I'll pay for my internet,
Yeah.
right? I'll pay my rent because I'm in a building working, right? I'll pay for my gadget. I'll pay for my
Mm-hmm.
Adobe sub. I'll pay for my Figma sub. So there are a
Mm.
lot of cost that goes into creating an artifact or creating a product in this case. So when you are giving that cost, you always want to make sure you're factoring all the actual cost plus profit.
Mm.
Even if you decide to do cost-based pricing, which is probably easiest to do as a designer, you always want to make sure you're adding
Mm.
plus profits. Okay, to get this illustration done, I need to pay for Adobe for a month, right? Or 2 months or
Mm-hmm.
3 months. Let's say my Adobe for 3 months around the $120, for example, right? I'm talking
Yeah.
to you, Ubon now. That's probably $120.
Yes.
Then,
Yeah. It is.
then other subs that will get done, your time, right? That'll probably round up to probably
Mm-hmm.
around 2K USD. And if you quote
Yeah.
2K for the client, I feel they look you. This person decrease. What's about profits? What's about inflation? You always have to factor in inflation. 3 months, things may change, right? And I can't come back to the
Creative
client and
block.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have creative block. I have to eat
Yeah.
shawarma or I have to go to strip. Oh, we are recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are recording.
You
But
have to golf. You have to golf. You have to
there,
golf.
there are things I have to do, right? So basically, there's a lot of cost that goes
Mm-hmm.
into designing something or building something or creating something. But designers usually
Mm-hmm.
just focus on, well, my time. Well, your time is money, but your time is
Mm-hmm.
cost. It's not profit. And you want to make a profit on what you're doing. So you always remember, you always have to factor in profit. But I just mentioned output based, cost based. Then there's the Oga Pata of value based pricing. This is where this fit money is, right? This is where those $1 million studios, $10 million design studios, this is where they are eating
Yeah.
very big from. Which is why you see budgets of 200K, 250K USD, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly because there isn't value-based pricing. So they tell the clients,
Yeah.
we can get you to this desired future state of having $1 million in revenue every year. This is how we help you get there. I think it's only fair if we take 10% of that desired future value we are going to create for you, which is around $1 million. So we'll be charging 100K to get you there. And that's value-based pricing. It's very difficult. A lot of conversations have to be had with the senior stakeholders, people that are moving the money, the shakers, the odogos. You have to talk to them.
Yeah.
You don't do value-based pricing with people that are down on the managerial chain. If you are coming to me as a product manager and say I'm to work with your team to design a product, I can't do value-based pricing with you because it's not even going to make sense to you, right?
Yeah.
Even if it makes sense to you, you do not have the decision power to do anything about it. So at value-based pricing, you're already talking with those at the C-suite, right? That's where it happens. That's where you make the big buck. But for now, I'm doing my output-based pricing small and living life small. Yeah,
Wow.
but from me, Junior, you want to go from cost-based pricing to output-based pricing as fast as possible.
I don't think I've ever intentionally factor in profit into
We don't.
my.
We don't. So the
I've
problem
never
is
intentionally factor in profit.
it depends on how you learn designing, right?
I've
If
not
you
seen
went
it
to a
like
boot
that before. I'm serious.
Yeah, so if you went to a boot
Wow.
camp, so usually they don't teach about negotiation, how to make profit. They don't teach you how to design your portfolio,
Yeah.
push you out into the world,
Yeah,
go and
that's
learn by
true.
yourself. Right.
Yeah.
And when you start learning by
Yeah.
yourself, you're really asking your friends, you ask your peers give you price. And you don't even question how they arrived at that price because they themselves, they don't know how they arrived at that price. Now person tell them they tell you.
Mm.
And it makes sense,
Mm.
it makes sense in your
Mm.
head. Kems is laughing. That's what
Yeah.
happened to Kems. So it makes sense in your head because a client is paying you 1 million naira and you're like, oh, that's a lot. But you don't know how you got there. You don't know if you're making profits, but now money.
Mm.
And because you don't value your time that much, right? You don't need to value your time that much, right? And your time is not the only thing going into designing that product. People don't even factor
Yeah.
internet cost, and internet is very expensive these days. Light
Yeah, it
issue,
is.
you have to buy fuel,
Yep.
right? So there are a lot of things that goes into creating a product. You have to sit down one day and start calculating, oh, apart from just my time, what are the other things that go into it? Even product management, right? You managing your clients and managing the product on its own. That's an
Product.
additional cost,
Yeah.
right? Which is why when you see people running solo design studio, when they are giving cost to a client, they say product designer, product manager, creative director, one person know,
Mm-hmm.
because he knows that
Yeah.
he's doing more than just designing product. He's managing the client,
Yeah.
managing the product. He's also leading creative direction for the team and the client's team, right? So you have to sit down, which is why you can't give cost on that first call, or you can't give cost
Yeah. On
via
that
via Twitter
first.
or via DM. Because what's going to happen
Exactly.
is since the client has not perceived value from you, and you don't understand the problem the client is trying to solve. You don't even know the desired features that they're trying to get to. What is going to happen is you just quote random figures. So you have to be very conscious of it. I learned this in 2021, right? Before 2021, now Google, I did ask my guys when they give me, I give clients like this. I'm always happy. Right? I don't know if I'm making profit, but it was enough for me to survive and take care of all my needs.
Mm-hmm.
But as I started growing as a designer, I started realizing design is a business. I have to make profits because I can't just be working, 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 and I'm not making profits. So yeah, always think
Yeah.
about profit. But while thinking about
Wow.
profit, make sure you have the skill to back it up. It happens a lot in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know to Sabi, they got 2
Mm-hmm.
million to design mobile app, and you don't have
Yeah.
the skill to back it up.
Mm.
Time to think, this one decrease. the call to really for.
Yeah.
Get this slap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you always want to make sure you have the skill to back up whatever you're saying.
Wow.
This is just feeding
Insightful.
everyone at this episode.
I did tell you,
Like,
everybody they collect everywhere.
I already collected my own set. I've accepted my fate. But I say when you are faced with like a low budget project, how do you ensure that you fully understand the scope of of what the client wants versus like what they can actually afford, what they can afford, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which is why I mentioned that discovery call, right? That discovery call is very important. It's on that call we start scoping, right? We start scoping. On that call, you're asking what problem they are trying to solve, what goals do they want to achieve. If I'm designing a health tech app and you want people to book appointments and have virtual calls with doctor, right? That's the goal you are trying to achieve. You want how do they say it? Healthcare from home, right? That's what you're trying to achieve. So we start scoping it out. What do we need to get there? Okay, we need a home screen where they can find these doctors, right? We need a search page where they can search based on symptoms and see specialist doctor for each symptom they're having, right? Now, after finding this doctor, they have to see the doctor profile, see reviews on the doctor, right? Then they need to book the doctor. After booking, they should leave reviews themselves. So we are seeing the things we need to do. We are scoping it out on the call. During the course of scoping, we can tell them for your first launch, this is your budget it is. For your first launch, probably you don't need to be able to leave reviews. We don't need to show review for the doctor because we never have so much doctors on the platform. It's a new product. You may never have people giving reviews yet, right? So we don't need reviews. We don't need chat. All they need to do is search for doctor. And if searching, they should just search by symptom or search for the doctor specialist name. But we both know that if I have a skin problem, I may not know I need to see dermatologist, right? I may just say skin problem. So say searching by doctor's title should never be possible in your MVP if it's a low budget client, right? It should be just to search by symptoms, right? I did catch cold, okay, cold, fever, headache, search by this kind of symptoms, and you show the doctors, right? So now we are scoping it on that call. In the course of scoping, we say, okay, this is what we can get done for this first SOW or this first milestone. I can get it done for this price, right? But saying you can get it done for one price, it gets very tricky because the thing we're giving one option is there's already a 50% chance of them taking it or leaving it, right? But we want that chance to be around 80-20. So we like to give multiple options. At least 3 options is very good. So you can say, okay, we can get this done. Everybody that tell you that their budget is 200K, they cannot go beyond 200K. It's not possible. We all know somebody that bought something they could not afford, right? It always happens.
Yeah.
I'm always buying sec I cannot afford, even if I know I have to sow Gary for a long time, right? It happens a lot. So if they say their budget is 200K, there's always another 200K somewhere. So what I like doing is I like setting my anchor price. Anchor price is the largest price in my options. Okay, so let's say their budget is 200K for everything we just mentioned. I can say, okay, we can get you this MVP for 600K, which is the anchor price. We know that I'm going to take 600K, right? 400K, which is second option, is where we want them to land on. For 400K, we say, okay, we can get this done, get this done, get this done, right? We'll put landing page in the highest price because we know that they will not take that. Put landing page
You
in the
know what
highest
to go
price,
for that.
they will not go for the highest price. So say we'll put all the MVP, the things they will need to go to market, the core things, we'll put them in the second price.
Mhm.
Then we'll have a lower option, which is their 200K option now. We'll put it in that 200K
Yeah.
plan and say, okay, we can get you the homepage, we can get you the doctor's page, right? Or we can get you just the patient app. Yeah, this is a good one. We can get you just the patient app for 200K. But if you want the patient and
200,
doctor
yeah.
app, we can do that. And we'll say, okay, these are the things we can get done for 400K. But if you want patient doctor app, you want web app to manage all of them, you want landing page, they'll
Yeah.
put that big anchor
We're going
price,
to
which
the
is
600K.
they are not going to go with 600K. They rarely go with 600K.
Mm-hmm.
If they go with 600K, glory be to God, excited, big money. But they will always
Yeah.
settle for the second price. This happens a lot if you buy SaaS subscriptions, right? You see enterprise, you see there's a second one standard you usually buy. No, you see pro, then you see standard or basic, right? I will never buy enterprise, right? But I'll wait and say, okay, pro is too small, it doesn't have the things I need, right? But I'll feel manage them, then I'll take pro, which one is the second option. So you always want to present 3 options. What this does is, even if 200K is what they have, they see the other options they're offering at 200 and 600K. they may start thinking that money they don't have is going to come out from somewhere. Even if they have to borrow or sell their laptop, but it come out from somewhere.
Yeah.
So always set a very high anchor price, then have three options you are presented to them.
Anchor
Interesting.
price, three options.
Interesting.
Okay.
Now let me actually create let's create a scenario here whereby you meet a client, right? A client reach out who has actually done their homework and they are really are skilled in their own, they understand what they want, they even understand design and understand the value of design, right? But they have a budget. And the budget is things are feasible, but it is not up to your own anchor point, right? It's let's say they have a budget of um they have a budget of, let's say, 15K dollars. Budget of 15K dollars. They want to run a, one of the Web3 projects, and to you, you would work on. Is we're just assuming at this point you'd work on 30K to 40K for that particular project, and but they are actually letting you know upfront. We have our budget is 15K dollars. We can push it up to 20K, right? Because we really understand the scope of this work and everything. And they are highly as skilled as you when it comes to this negotiating, talking price, and everything. How do you negotiate with that? Because so far so good, we've been talking majorly about, say, clients who really probably don't value design or they don't know the value of design and they have low budget, and designers not necessarily do they have the negotiation skills and everything. So when you meet clients that we're all on the same class, we're all we're chewing the same gums, how do you interact in that case?
Oh yeah,
But their budget is still lower.
so like I
Yeah.
said, you always want to extract the maximum amount of value from your clients, like they will extract from you, right?
Mhm.
So if your maximum is
Yeah.
probably 20K, right? And I charge 30K, for example, right? That's my minimum level of
Mhm.
engagement. Please below that, I don't engage, for example, right? I'm not I'm not going to drive you. I've been in a sales conversation where we took it from 20K, we took it to 40K we are looking for, right? I was a designer, no me collecting money, right? I was just privileged to be on that call.
Okay.
What happened was
Mhm.
their budget was 20K, right? MLOE was 40K, right? And these are the things they
Okay.
wanted for 20K. They scoped it down and say, for this milestone, for this SOW, we can get you here, right? Which is very important for your product. But if you want these additional features, we can do it for 30K. But he kept pushing back
Mm.
and say, okay, how about we do this for 20K? Then for our next work, we can decide going with your minimum level of engagement. So there are times where
Mhm.
you have to make trade-offs or you have to make sacrifices. The thing with pricing and negotiation is it's not always it's not
Sorry,
a,
making sacrifices sound different, but as KOK. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
go
always
on.
set in stone, right? There's no systemic
Mhm.
formula in your head that you use and say, okay, it must be this amount, right? You have to be flexible, which is why you
Mhm.
have to be a salesman. You have to be flexible. If they are saying
Mhm.
they are willing to pay 20K, I always want to make sure,
Yeah.
and my ML is 40K, for example, where can they get that 20K from? Can they give it to me as
Mm.
token shares, right? Can they give it to us in the form of equity? We don't want to pay the other 20K in
Mm.
installment in the future. You have to present them with options. Because what
Yeah.
that tells them is you are willing to work on them. You are trying to make as much compromise as possible, right? But now the boys in their court to decide if they want to either scope down the work for that, right? And we take the 20K,
Yeah.
or do you want to leave the scope as it is and pay the other 20K in installments, or they want to give
Mhm.
us that in token shares when they go live. You don't want to present that as equity stake, right? But like I said, you always want to make sure you're extracting the maximum amount of value from your clients.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's still dwell on you wanting to extract the maximum amount of value from your clients, which will lead me to ask this question, right? You mentioned some things about equity. Right? Equity is one of those part that um it's not one of the big subject that come up every now and then in the, in our specifically for some kind of sects, right? It's not one of those topics that come very regularly. I want you to touch on equity, the importance of equity, how valuable it is, when you should lobby for equity or negotiate for equity, right? If you're going for equity, should you, you know, if a client is offering to give you only equity, right, but they're not wanting to pay, it's part of how should designers approach such kind of negotiation conversation?
Oh,
equity specifically.
oh, this is very interesting, right? So red flag. If a client is offering you equity upfront, it's a big red flag, especially when the equity is more than 5%, more than even 2%. If you're farming 2%, I'm skeptical, right? That's a lot. It's a lot. The clients that offer you equity upfront with no pay, offering you just equity to work for them, they are both red flags. Because if you value your company as much as you should be willing to part with it very quickly, right? So if you are giving me to me 20%, 30%, 40% equity as a designer, I start thinking either you don't know the value of what you are doing, right? Which is why you're giving it to me easily, or you don't know how to market, which means you don't understand finance, which means you don't know how to market your product. There are just many red alarms that start going off in my head. Why you give me 40%? But if you want to make generational wealth as a designer, the way for you to get
Yeah.
there, you want to become
Hmm.
unbelievably liquid, is through equity,
Yeah.
stocks and shares.
Hmm.
Because there's only so much you can charge the clients. So now the question is, how do you know when to accept equity? If we are, like I said, 20K, money I accept is 40K, I can start saying, okay, I'll take the 20K. Um, let us do the remaining 10 or 15 or 20K as equity. Now you notice that for clients that understand finance, that understand business, right? They're going to push back on giving you that as equity. Even if they decide to do that, they are going to give you a very small percentage, which might be in 0 point something, because they know the value of what they are building, right? Then if they go live, that product becomes it's worth $50 million or $100 million. Your 0.1 becomes $1 million, right? Which is almost 500x the 20K they should have paid you.
They should have paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So clients that are very resistant to giving you equity, right? They're actually
Hmm.
very green flag, right? And people I would want to negotiate equity
Hmm.
for. And if I believe in the project, right, self-conviction is a thing. Your God's telling you that this thing will do very well. I don't
To
just
sell.
want,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't just want money. I want equity too. And for you to know if it's going to, for you to actually train your gut to know and see things that are going to sell, you have to know a little bit of finance. You have to check, are they pushing marketing a lot on this product? Are the founders, previous founders that have existed before, right? You just have to do this little bit of research, then use that to negotiate equity. Most times, I like bringing up equity first, right? I set my anchor high, they come
Hmm.
down, then I say, okay, I'll take this, but we have to do equity. If there's no equity, then you have to make up for this in installment payments or however the construction goes.
Hmm. Equity was one of those subjects that I was working on a particular project, and the client brought up equity, and I really, I needed that money. I no go lie, I really need that money that time. Like, no, I need this move, do me the whole money. But now we were still working on the project, and the client was actually kind and gracious to come back and say, you know what, after that equity we have been talking, I said, yeah, we'll put him for negotiation. Then, he put it in. Equity is actually I see it very vital, very, very vital, very vital. Let's talk about upfront payment, right? Still within this scope of negotiation. Upfront payment, how should it be, right? Okay, let's pay. Let's should when the client says, how should we do it? If you say this project is going to take 3 months, right, and you've already established the fact that rarely, it's almost impossible for you, so for one to accurately determine how long a particular project will take. But if the client is saying, should we do it? Should the payment be per deliverable? So when you deliver this particular set, then we'll pay, or how should we charge? Is it 70%, 30%, 50%? How would you advise upfront payment
Oh,
negotiation?
yeah, it depends on you, right? But the way I did it is three-part payment, right?
Okay.
I don't used to do per deliverable. So let me give context. If you are saying that
Okay.
let's work on this, when I'm done designing mobile app, then you pay me my first payment. It doesn't make sense because there's no
Hmm.
commitment on your end that you might just run away and vanish one day, which most clients do.
Yeah.
I had a client in 2022. I worked on a landing page for the client. The budget was 10K. After paying 5K,
Hmm.
the client vanished.
Wow.
In my life, I've never seen a client like that.
Wow.
I kept messaging the client. The client kept posting on Twitter. You're online on Discord, but not
Whoa.
replying. I sent the prototype. I did my part. I sent the prototype of the app. When I sent the first version, he liked it. He said, okay, I should just finish and send the prototype. Added animation. Sent it to him. He did not reply. I kept bugging him.
Wow.
He did not reply. Ah, I was a bit hot because I killed the project and I've done my part. So I felt my remainder payment was around 5K. But I switched off my 5K anyhow. So the way we do it is, so for clients like that, right? If I was depending on, okay, when I'm done delivering, he pays and he vanishes. The time I invested into that is gone. All the cost, all the effort that went into that will vanish.
Yeah.
So the way I do this 3-part payments, 60, 20, 20, right? So 60% is upfront payment. Some clients will push for 50%. So most times it's 50, right? But I prefer telling them 60. So 60% upfront. When we deliver, and the product is split into 3 deliverables, or no, 3 milestones, not deliverables, 3 milestones, right? So first milestone, on delivering the second milestone, I get the other 20%. Then final milestone, then we get 20% after handoff. So it's 60, 20, 20, or 50, 25, 25, or 50, 30, 20, but it's usually 3 parts payment.
Okay. And
Yeah.
this first part has to be reasonably bigger than
Remember
you know.
remember the clients we both worked for that ghosted after the work.
Yeah, I remember. I
Yeah,
remember that
yeah,
project.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so it happens a lot like that. Not
Mm,
often, but there are clients like
yeah.
that. That even after putting on the work,
Mm-hmm.
telling you they like this and that,
Yeah.
they just ghost. Because you remember telling they
Mm.
like the things you did, this and that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So the first percentage has
Yeah.
to be at least above 50%
Huh?
or 50%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Gang, I say 80%. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
you always have to make sure you take an upfront. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Always take an upfront.
You know the lead though. You know the lead. Let me stop you first. You know the lead. So so the thing with low budget clients, is a chain reaction.
Yeah.
Low budget clients know
Hmm.
other low budget
They'll
clients.
keep yeah, they'll keep bringing low
They will
budget
keep
clients.
refer you. You'll be stuck in that path for the
Mm,
rest of your life if you don't break out of it. So
a
that's why
downward spiral.
it doesn't lead anywhere.
You know the,
There's no low
mm,
budget client that refer you to a high budget client. The reason being is
mm,
if I'm a high paying client, right? My budget is around
mhm,
50K. And I meet you, I say, that designer that did your work, you did a very good work. How much did he charge? Because they always try to ask you how much you charge to get a good idea of how to price you. And you say,
mhm,
and my guy done for me 300,000 naira. And budget is 10K USD. If I'm coming to meet you and I ask you how
mm,
much you charge, you say you are charging 5K. I'm like, you did the same quality
mhm.
of work for this one of 300K, right? But the highest I can
Yeah.
pay is 700K. That person
Mm,
was a high paying client. But because the low paying client that referred him giving an anchor of 300K, my working for another low budget
yeah.
client, I'll pay you 500K. But in reality, if they are
Mm,
pricing you, if you did for that person 300K, they want to price you 200K.
yeah.
Yes. So
True.
low budget clients,
True.
they are a cycle you'd want to break.
Mm,
At the beginning of your career, they may be important because they help you get portfolio piece. You're able to show the impact of your work as a
mhm.
designer. But after that stage, you want to fire them. Because the thing
Mm,
with them is their work will usually run longer than expected. The time you spend investing in yourself
mhm.
and growing your skill set as a designer, you spend it doing
Yeah.
something you don't like doing, right? Because you always complain, you don't chop the money finish, but you still do the work. So you
Yeah.
always want to try
Yeah.
and break that cycle. Very important. Let's say
Hmm.
Kems, if they encounter that type, you don't chop the money finish, still do the work. One thing you always want to do is, which is something I taught myself, is the next project I charge, if I'm charging 1K for this, the next project I charge, this is when I was using cost-based pricing, right? When I was just charging from thin
Okay.
air, the next project I charge is always higher than the previous project, because inflation is always going up. But like I said, when I was doing cost-based pricing, I was not sure how I was arriving at my cost, but I was just increasing the price incrementally. So if you are junior and you are scared to do cost-based pricing because the amount when you call it is big in your head, just make sure that you are training yourself, the next project you are charging, the next clients you are meeting, your sales skills are better and you are charging higher than you're charging for the previous project. But as you start growing, you start doing output-based pricing, value-based pricing, all these other pricing methods. Two projects cannot be charged the same, right? Some might be higher, some might be lower. But you are solving different problems, different variables you go into building that product or designing that product. So the cost can never be the same. But if you just knock on from your head, 1K, 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 just make sure if you're charging 1K for this, the next time should be 1, 1.5. Just keep going up incrementally.
Yeah, keep going up. Beautiful. I would want to ask when, right, when to walk away, right? At what point? At what point should the designer decide that okay, this project is not worth taking on, right? Irrespective of how enthusiastic the client might be or how brilliant the idea is. When do you decide that this project is not worth taking on?
Oh, it depends on your personal values, right? This one is it's mostly personal. For me, it has to be fun. I have to enjoy working on it. It has to meet my minimum level of engagement. If it doesn't, then there should be some financial trade-offs on how we settle that deficit. I have to like the client. I have to enjoy working with the client. And if I don't enjoy working with the client, and it should still be fine. As far as it's fun, I will run them. Right. So it has to meet some check mark. So if it's fun, I enjoy working with the clients, the money is good. I'm always looking at impact. Because for the first 2 years of my career, I was doing a lot of things, but there was nothing to show for it. In a year, I can have like 10 clients. But if you say send link to the design you worked on, 'cause I had an interview one time in
Yeah.
2021, send link to products you worked on that are live. My head was blank. I've been working, but I was not to show for it. So I just want to make sure that whatever I'm working on has impact. I should have something to show for. I should be able to come on Twitter and say, oh, I worked on this, go here to use this. Right? Well, I worked on this. This is the amount of users it got declined. This is the traction it got. Which is why I love my current workplace. Metric plenty. Back to back. We have done this amount of volume. We've done this. There's impact. There's something to show for it, which is what you always want to try for. You don't want to work throughout the year. At the end of the year, it's October right now. You've done 8 projects this year. None of them have gone live. You did not become better as a designer working on these 8 products. Right? So apart from impact in terms of metrics, did it make you a better person, make you a better designer? Did you get a valuable relationship from that project? All the products I've worked on, the clients usually end up becoming friends or end up becoming reasonably close, right? Which would end up leading to more referrals, or most time we end up talking about finance and other ways to make money apart from just collaborating on being designer and clients, right? So you always want to look at impact. What's the impact I'm going to get from this? One thing I want to say is I don't like Nigerian clients in abroad. I've only worked with one that was a very, very good boss, right? So when working with clients, they are not just assessing if they want to work with you. You're always trying to assess them if you want to work with them, right? If you're a very rude person that would always talk down on my skill, or you're hiring me to do design, but you're the one always in Figma trying to do the design, correcting every little mistake, right? You're not allowing me to do the work you hired me to do. Then most times I'll fire you as a client and refund your money. But I think I've only refunded a client once, right? And that was because the client was being very difficult. You're hiring me as a designer, you always want it to go your way. It's not solving the problem you hired me to solve. Right? You told me this is the problem you're trying to solve, but you want it to be a replica of this exact app. So I just refunded the money because that's not going to have any impact on me. I don't want to be the designer that cloned Revolut. Because if they ask me to design this, we just change the color. They'll say that Druids design now. So you
Yeah.
always want to look out for these things.
Yeah.
But it's mostly based on your personal values.
Mm.
Okay. Anybody that sends me Revolut
Beautiful.
websites now,
Beautiful.
avoid the person. Like, if you could give like one takeaway to clients with low budgets and one to designers, yeah, what would it be? Designers like me, not designers like you.
Okay. So clients is low budget, like I said, it's mostly just client education, right? You should be able to present your value to these clients. Right? So there are times where even when you don't present your value, like present that you work for Big Eight. If it's 10K they have, it's 10K they have. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So you have
Yeah.
to decide if you want to work on it. Is it going to have any impact on you as a designer?
Mhm.
Does it have any impact on your career? You always want to look out for impact, right? We know we are working for money, but for you to make more money, you should be able to show the impact of your work. So if a client has a low budget, but you think that this idea would make you a better motion designer, you probably get to practice motion in the product and it's going to go live, right? I may want to work on it. Like I said, I've done a lot of pro bono work. In the last years, I've done a lot of free work. And those are because I found them very interesting. I enjoyed working on them. They're working on things I found interesting. And those things made me a better designer, right? But most times, as a designer, you always want to get on call with clients. So if I was going to give a call to you as a designer, if I'm going to give an advice to you as a designer, you always want to hop on discovery calls. One thing discovery calls will help you do is, even if you're not closing these clients, you're going to get better at sales, right? You're going to be more confident when speaking to clients, right? You get better at showing your values to clients in the first 2 minutes of that conversation. So get on as much discovery calls as possible. Even if the client tells you it's 10K on Twitter, DM, 10,000 Naira, I know you're going to take it, but get on that discovery call, right? Train yourself. So even if the only thing you're getting from that conversation or from that relationship with the client is how to get better at sales, I think that's also an impact on yourself as a designer, right? So basically, create a checklist for yourself and say, this is the client I want to work with. This is the minimum I'm going to charge this client, right? If they come below that minimum, then do your checklist. Will this be fun? If you are doing a food delivery app, and a lot of food delivery apps are there, I don't think you are doing anything new, anything innovative. I don't see anything working on
Yeah.
that, except the hunger too much. I need money. I just want to quickly run them.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's not
Yeah.
making impact. But it Kems run those kind of things, but it's not making any impact on me.
Still,
It's not making any impact on me as a designer. Which is why when I'm trying to give advice to junior designers, I always ask them, do you need the money? Right? Because I can't speak for a reality. I know that if I don't need the money, there are things I would not work on. But because I need the money, I go take them. Right? There are instances where I've done a lot of things that are not worth pay because, well, I needed that cash. So you always ask, despite all the advice you're going to give, only you know your reality. You should need to advise yourself and say, okay, what value am I getting from this? Even if I know I'm taking the 20K that is very small, I should be able to get some value from this. Do I get better at sales? If my prototyping is going to get better, right? Like I said, if you are going to do it regardless of price, make sure you do it very well. It's very important. Yeah, I think that would be the advice. I give several advices.
oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So beautiful. So
This entire
beautiful.
episode has been advices.
So beautiful. And yeah. And what would you what would also be we still need more advice, right? What would be the advice that you would give to designers who are currently working with clients, right? They're already in the process, they're already working with clients who have small wallets, clients with $1 million idea but $1,000 budget. And that project probably stressing them, they're in regret. I should have charged, I should have added one more zero. What would be the advice for those designers?
Okay, if you have found yourself in that situation already, there's not much you can do. There's not much you can do. So what you can do is try and close the project as quick as possible. That would be like the best advice. But if you can't, and they are bringing additional scope of work to what you originally agreed upon, right? We agreed we're going to design this for 30K, and you're bringing more work that's more than that. You always want to get an conversation and tell them that this is way more than we discussed in our first call, right? Always in the contract. We'll have to create a new scope of work. Right? And that scope of work, I say, okay, these are the new things to be doing. Is how much we're charging for these new things. So clients, what that's going to help you do is going to regulate the amount of new ideas that are coming in, that's stretching the period that long.
Mm-hmm.
Before they bring new idea,
Yeah.
they will think, oh, this boy will charge us another money, or this girl
Yeah.
will charge
We
us
could
another
charge
money.
more money. Yeah.
Yeah, and they will rein in those ideas. So, but there are some clients, you're on the space last week, or was it this week? There are some clients that will tell you that, okay, so if I don't pay this new money, what is going to happen? And then you tell them that
Mm.
we'll finish what we already have going on. Then we can discuss if you want to get the new thing done with that new scope of work. Or if
Done.
not, we pause the
Yeah.
product. We're going to pause the design until you decide what you want to do.
Beautiful.
Oh, yes. And
Yeah.
don't allow
No,
anybody
this
threatening you.
is
This is very
yeah.
important. When you are doing you're threatening that these police are arresting my father's house.
Ah.
So don't allow, he said, come and find me in Benin. So the guy was from Benin, but he stays in the
Ah.
US. They say, come and find me in Benin because I was taking too long to deliver. So don't let anybody threaten you, right? They cannot arrest you for
Wow.
not delivering. I don't think there's any law. As far as you're still working on it, they use money and oppress you. They use money and oppress you. That's just the thing, right? But legally, you cannot arrest me that I'm taking too long to deliver. I'm not saying I'm not delivering. I'm not defrauding you. I'm just taking too long. The guy, he threatened me. I asked my friend, can you? I say, no, just wait till that's okay. I done. He didn't pay my balance though. He don't pay my balance, but I finished the work.
Wow. Wow. Ah, our designers, the
Is a face
With the
who am I?
cities.
I've seen somebody.
Designers with
I've
the
seen somebody. They
cities.
arrested one dev. He was not delivering, so the man arrested him. The
Wow.
man, I say, because he no get person, you cannot arrest me. Only time my father that arrested me for
Wow.
that I was looking for you, I did not deliver.
Wow. 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 Just wow. It's really been an insightful conversation talking about negotiation. It's beautiful. Now we've exhausted all the list of our questions, but I do have one particular question for you. That is obviously not here. Drew, there's whenever I come on Twitter, almost any space of Web three, you go see Drew there. Drew, what are you always doing on these spaces? Almost any space. Almost any space on Web3, maybe Solana, I don't know, anything in that context, you always find Druids there. He's not speaking, no. He's just there, he's just listening.
Oh,
What's happening?
yeah. So basically, I'm trying to grow mind share for my brand, right? Like I said, now if
Mm.
you think Web3 space, you really think I'm always there. So I'm basically trying to allow
Mm-hmm.
more people find me. I try to know what's happening in the ecosystem.
Mm.
I want to know where the ecosystem is going. So that way I'm able to design ahead before they reach there, I don't need yet. There's a design already waiting for them.
Mm.
So those conversations usually help because on those calls, they start speaking about what they are building, what the future is going to look like. And those things give me insights on where the design industry is going. Right. And mostly I like connecting with founders. And on those conversations, you meet those founders. And people that are going to hire me and going to give me contracts are
Yeah,
founders. And that's
yeah.
where I'm going to find them.
Benefactors.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
apart from that, on all that spaces I join where I'm speaking, right? I just like giving insight because there's not a clear roadmap on how I have roadmap to create. There's not a clear roadmap on how to get started in Web3, how to design these things in Web3, right? How to move forward, how to
Yeah.
charge, how to find clients, how to do this and that. Right. So
Yeah.
most times I just like jumping on those calls and sharing those insights because the ecosystem is very big. I can't keep it and say, I don't want you to take my clients from me. There are just too many clients. The sky is
Mm-hmm.
very large. Everybody can take as much as possible. So I
Yeah.
just like giving those insights and making sure that at least you're not just moving. It's not scalar, they call it. Which one is speed without direction? It's not scalar. I don't forget.
Yes, yeah.
Speed without direction,
Without
that
the
is,
Scalar.
yeah,
Scalar.
that's a
direction
scalar
is
quantity,
vector.
yes. Yeah, vector quantity has both
Speed. Yeah.
speed
Yeah.
and direction,
Yeah. Yeah.
magnitude. Yeah,
Yeah. So you
yeah,
don't just
yeah.
want to be designing,
Scalar.
right, without direction. Because if you're just coming into Web3, it gets confusing. You are just replicating apps, right? You're not sure why you're replicating apps, but you see it's what everybody's doing. So you say if you just do them.
Yeah.
There has to be a clear purpose on why you're doing it. You have to be solving a problem. Gonna have problems gonna make founders find you. Founders are very keen on looking for designers that understand how the technology works and how to solve problems in the space.
Mhm.
So you want to be a problem solver. So yeah, just like sharing those insights and making sure we have as much designers as possible. Because for Web3 adoption to go far, the UX has to be very great. And for the UX to be great, we need
Mhm.
more designers that design those user experiences. So yeah, get as much
Yeah.
designers into the ecosystem as possible. Because the more adoption we have, the more my bag is going to pump. If we have more people adopting
Mhm.
Solana products, my soul token is going to
Yeah.
pump. So I need my back to pump. I need more
Mm.
designers to design those great products that are going to make my back pump. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, I
I'm
think
saying
Drew should already be crowned the grandfather of design
hasn't
in
he
this
always had
space.
that
Yeah,
title?
the grandfather of design.
What did he say?
Yeah.
I know you've always had the
The grand. He
title.
said. She said you've always had the title. Yeah. I
I
mean,
did
we
not
call
know.
him daddy
Ah,
now.
well,
Yeah,
he's
we call
giving
him
you the
daddy, the
title.
grandfather of design.
And there's no way you
He's the
mention
grandfather of
pricing and
design.
negotiation that you will not
Grandfather
see
of
hint
design.
inside. So
Are you? No,
Oh, I
there's
like talking
just no
about
way.
it.
There's
So,
just
so
no
the
way.
reason is I struggle with it a lot because nobody was teaching it in the ecosystem. All the bootcamp, you learn Figma, you learn UX, you learn prototype, how to create
Yeah.
portfolio. They don't want you to apply for job, throw you into the world. I mean, since I was self-taught, I threw myself into the world. So everything was a bit confusing. I did not know how to price, so just scattered. You had to learn. And when I look at most of the curriculum for these bootcamps, the ones that are still in existence in Nigeria, it's almost the same thing, right? Nobody's teaching how to price. And money is very important. I don't know why people are scared of talking about money, but money is very important, right? And you want to get as much value as possible with your skill sets.
Yeah.
Because in the next few years, AI can't collect our work. Before it comes, we want to get
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible. Like I keep saying, design is a means to an end, right? It's not the final destination. Design is for me to sponsor my hobby. My true passion is finance. Design is to
Mm.
actually sponsor that hobby. If I have to buy books, I have to buy courses, I have to do this and that. So for me to get there, I have to be a great designer, right? I need to try that as much as possible. I want to go to a business school. The school fee is 80k pounds. Yeah, I want to see the money. Design, right? So for you to do the things you actually love, even if you love design, for you to do the other things you actually love, you need to charge very well for it. And when you charge very well, you need to know how to present yourself as a valuable person, how to give actual value to your clients and have impact, how to make sure that they are paying you the money you should be earning, not the money you think you should be earning. Because when I was starting 10k, I thought I was a big boy. Then I saw one design proposal, 420k USD for a 6 months project. I was this designer on the project. Oh.
Wow.
I mean the designer, solo designer. Oh.
Wow.
The quote was for 420k. I was collecting 10k.
Wow. Wow.
The money
So
at the
well, for us to know that, yeah, the thing is, if you don't know it, you will still have this limiting belief that 10k is a lot of money, 20k is a lot of money, because you're not exposed to the other side. You've not seen people charging this much and actually getting it. So you just think that ceiling is 20k. But I've seen for 20k, I've seen 629k, right? And these two projects, I was working there, collecting my 10k. I was happy until I saw the proposals we sent to the client. And they collect 10k, then my eyes got opened. That limiting belief that 10k was a lot, it got shattered. So right now, I'm trying to get my 6 figures. I never reached there, but hopefully one day I get it. And once I get it, I won't say it, but you will know, you will feel it.
Yeah, there shall be signs. There shall be signs. Yeah. There shall be signs. That's beautiful. Okay. We've come to the section where there's no question, right? Anything you'd like for designers to know, right? Regarding negotiation, finances, just share with us. There's no context, no string, just share it from your heart.
Oh, yeah. I think that this was something that happened in the last page, which I just want to reiterate, right? You can actually become very successful just being a product designer. So right now we have everybody learning no code, learning code. I myself, I'm learning code, right? But I have a different goal. But you do not want to allow people pressure you, because when you're on Twitter, there's a lot of noise, right? You can be learning product design, doing your product design, somebody come doing motion. Design chief priest will come with building things, right? This person will come doing this.
Building, shipping things.
It's always
yeah.
building and shipping. I like that. So, but a lot
Yeah.
of noise. And design chief preparation has his goals, and building things is getting him towards that goal. But you don't know what his goals are, right? You can't just come on Twitter and see that noise and say, okay, you want to start building. Then you start learning how to use Cloud, start learning how to do this and that. And that's not even your goal. If you want to set clear goal for yourself and make sure you don't get distracted by noise on Twitter. I've been saying I will not learn code for years, but the reason I'm learning code now is so I can do motion with code, right? Not because I ever want to be a front-end engineer. I just want to be able to do motion with code, like free motion, GSAP, and those very interesting things you do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, with code. They're just written for motion, right? If you are saying you want to learn no code, are you learning no code just to build from my website, or you have another goal? But you have to make sure you set a clear goal for it. Or if not, Twitter can be very distracting. At one point, I was learning illustration, but why? Why was I doing that when I can just hire Ubon to help me do whatever I want? So I just factor in. I do micro interactions, right? But I want to do very complex animations, like reels of those very complex animations. I rather just hire an expert, because my goal is not to be the best motion designer. My goal is just to be a motion designer that knows how to do micro animations and micro interactions, right? I don't want to know how to do reels. I don't want to animate a full video and those kind of things. So set clear goals for when you are learning, and make sure you don't get distracted. And whatever goals you are setting, the way I learn my skill set is, if I'm learning motion, before I start learning 3D, I make sure I'm earning using motion, right? So what that does is it constrains me and helps me focus, because I tend to get very distracted. I'm a very curious person, like I always say. My attention span is very short. I'm learning motion, and before you know, I'm learning how to do photography. I'm learning one other thing on Domestica.
Yeah.
The way I do it is motion. Until I start earning in motion, I'm going to keep creating content in motion, posting on Twitter, until I start earning, before I switch to learning a new skill set.
New skill, yeah.
And the thing with learning new skill sets is, I mentioned this in one of the calls, you want to learn skill sets that are going to stack up and make you a very unique person. You know how to do products. You are learning motion, so you can create macro interaction, you can create animations in your product, right? Now, that's going to make you a very expensive designer. Because now you're not just a designer that knows how to do product design. Now you know how to do motion. Now, instead of the client to hire
Motion,
two
yeah.
people, he's going to hire just you to do what people can do. Like, that's more money in your bag. So when you're pricing yourself, you don't want to price yourself as just a product designer. If you're charging 10K to design a product, now you're probably charging around 20K. You'll probably price down to 15K. But now you're offering just motion. You're offering both motion and design. But something now I encourage you to also learn is strategy, right? You want to read the book Business or Design. You want to learn strategy. This is going to help you when you are moving from cost-based pricing to output-based pricing and value-based pricing. We are not just saying I'll design this product for you. You are giving a client strategy on how to market this product, right? What channels they should be exploring when they are trying to promote this product, how to get users, how to make sure users are not dropping off. You are giving them strategies on how to reach certain business goals. Like I said, whatever you're learning, make sure it's stacking up to make you a very unique person. The more unique you are, the more
Yes.
expensive you are. I like using the doctor's analogy. A general practitioner
Yeah.
will not charge as much as a neurosurgeon, right? Or those very specialist doctors. They are very hard to see.
Yeah.
And when you see them, it's the amount they tell you pay. They don't have to price neurosurgeon. If he tells you 200K
Yeah.
for a session, you're not going
Yeah.
to price him. But you know it's
Yeah.
a very unique person with a very unique skill set. And your brain is in his hand. So if you're like, when they price 100K,
Yeah.
if you say this person is pricing 100K,
Make it,
come on one day.
come on, something for your head. Yeah.
So the more unique you
Yeah.
are, the more you can charge, the more you get to lead this
Yeah.
conversation.
Mhm.
So like I said, whatever you are doing has to be always making you a very unique person. Me, motion, code, I go see unique die. I'll be hot cake. Me, I know I'll be hot cake.
Yeah.
I know I'll be hot cake.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, make sure whatever you're learning is to be a unique person. And make sure it's stacking up to the skill set you have. You always want to have a main skill
Mhm.
people know you for, right? Which is product design.
Yeah.
Yours is illustration, right? I need a lot of things apart from
Mm.
illustration. I know you do branding too. But me, I knew you are the
Yeah.
illustration guy. If I need illustration, I'll call me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was through your illustration I knew you knew how to do branding. Because
Branding. Yeah.
when I reached out for illustration, I said, Ubon can actually do brand. I don't know if I should call you Ufot or Ubon. Well, we'll go reach there. So,
Anyway, yeah.
so you want
Yeah.
them to know you for one thing. You can know me as a product designer. I know how to do design system very well. I know how to create design system. I know how to build teams that can
Yeah.
create design system. I know how to do motion. Right? But if clients are reaching out to me, you should reach out to me for product. In the course of products, as a salesman, I'll start telling them, if you go to meet Igbo men, you want to buy something now, you want to buy water, they're
Yes,
selling you
now.
fridge. So in the course of buying water,
Yeah.
I'm already selling you fridge. If you want to buy fridge, I'll send you ice block. If you want to buy ice block, I'll send you that rack to put the water to do ice block. But there are always things out you would want to sell additionally, which is where those your additional skills are going to come into play. Down, going to make you very expensive and a very unique person.
Wow, beautiful. This episode has been so
Mhm.
insightful,
Great
so
advice to all.
insightful. Thank you so much for
Activity
this, for your time, for your wealth of knowledge. Honestly, for your sacrifices, I really appreciate. Thank you so much. It's been beautiful having you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Wait,
Juice, for
before
your
we go,
time. Thank you so much.
Kev,
Yes.
do you use mouse or trackpad?
This wall. Kems is not even here.
I use trackpad.
Kems. This wall. That's true, Seb. Druids, why do you even use mouse? Let's
Yeah, it's easier for me. Right?
Hey.
See my Logitech here.
You brought
Where is
it.
mouse
You
and
brought
trackpad?
it. You brought the extra gadgets. You brought the extra gadgets.
Hey.
So it's easier for me.
Mouse it's just stressful. It is.
Easy and like
It's the extra stress.
So
Wrist not a pain you.
No, you know they pay me.
because like
I use trackpad. Kems also use trackpad. Yes, Kems use trackpad. So yeah, now you,
Trackpad is
Leye, and some other, and you guys are exceptionally good. But that doesn't really mean
That
it's
doesn't
the
mean
mouse that
anything.
does it. Yeah, that doesn't really mean it's the mouse that does it.
okay.
We will always battle the trackpad versus mouse war.
Yeah.
Always,
Yes, sir.
always.
Yes, sir.
Always. It's a pleasure having you on here, Drews. Thank
Pleasure
you so
mine.
much. I really appreciate.
You're
Really
welcome.
appreciate. Thank you so much.
Don't
Yes.
forget your
Definitely. We say this, so boy, it looks like we've not done it, but definitely we will call you again. We've said this to a lot of our guests who has come on the on the podcast, and they've contributed great value. definitely we're going to call you again.
Oh, I
Definitely,
did.
because we need a lot of these kind of conversations so that we can, our communities can have this knowledge also. So definitely we're calling you again. Thank you
Right.
so much for your time,
My
for
pleasure.
your wealth of knowledge. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Designstration.
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 Designstration.